Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. It's Wednesday, and it's Kate Richburg, and I am live on our Wednesday broadcast, Beadshop Live. It's great to have everybody here. I'll switch over to my front view in just a second while I make sure that I've got everybody uh, up and running. Everybody being me, being all of our streams here. So bear with me here just a second while I set all of that up. And it's great to have you guys all here. It looks like I can see you guys here on the bead shop. There we go. I can see you guys comment over there, and let me just make sure I get my YouTube or my Facebook feed up and running, but I'll switch this over so I can see you guys there. There we are. Here. And let's just make sure everyone's jumping on. I'm still refreshing my feed. Refresh, refresh. There we go. All right, well, it looks like everybody has been jumping on over on our Facebook and our YouTube feeds. It's great to have you guys all here. Today we're going to do, you guys, it's a classic. It's a bead shop classic, if I do say so myself. We are doing our Born Yesterday, which is going to be great. I have a really fun kit for you guys to work with, and we are going to be playing around with some flat macrame techniques, all kinds of cool stuff. I'm still waiting for my Facebook feed to come up. So I know it's there because I can see you guys. If you are having any issues at all, you can go in and out of the feed. I want to make sure that it says we're live, but it also says that our stream, let me see, let me just double check. Thank you for your comments about me looking glamorous. I thought that since today we were working with some fancy jade, I thought that we should be fancy with, or I should be kind of fancy with my outfit. So that's what I did today. Let me see. I'm still waiting for my Facebook to come up, but I can see you guys chatting, so there we go. I think it's there. There we go. I can see myself now, so I feel good about everything. Fantastic. So, let's get this show on the road, I guess, right? When I was thinking about doing this project, let me give you a little bit of backstory about this. And you guys can see, I'm going to click over so you guys can actually see the project here real quick. Pardon me. This is the piece that I made up from the kit that we just posted today. And as of now, as of 10:36 a.m. on Wednesday, December 18th, there are still kits available. A few. You guys jumped in and grabbed them right when the newsletter came out. So if you do want one, jump over and grab one, put it in your cart, and then check out, because it will not be there by the end of the show, honestly. So I am going to show you, though, some of our alternatives from our website, beadshop.com, that you can also use, because if you're not watching this live, or if the kits have sold out, I want to share some alternatives with you guys. So I'm gonna share that as well. So this is a really fun kit and project, I think, that I put together. And you can see here on the screen how it's a long necklace like this, kind of meandering along, and then it's a centerpiece that has some tassels and stuff below it. Now, Born Yesterday was a project that Janice did a while back, and I came back on board, I saw it and I was like, this is super clever. And so it's this one here, and you can see it. It's the original Born Yesterday, and you guys can go over to the website at beadshop.com to check it out. And what Janice used, and I'm going to click over here so you guys can see some of the other stuff I chose. Janice used some of the pieces from our Vintage Finds collection here on beadshop.com. And so this is the perfect bead collection to use if you want to go diving into your stash. You may be a collector of Vintage Finds like I am. I love all of our old Vintage Finds pieces, all in serpentine and then different other beads and stuff as well, different types of beads or stones that we have. So when I wanted to create this kit, I was rooting around, right, in an old bead warehouse, and I came up, I'm not kidding, I put my hand in a box of like old random beads. I know, I'm not afraid. And I pulled out these guys. These are the ones that are in the kit, and these are a kit exclusive. It's these two different sizes of the jade beads. There's an 8mm and a 10mm. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have these. And there were only enough for 77 kits, I think there were, or 76 kits, something like that. Anyway, so I grabbed these because this jade, and I'll show it to you a little closer in the feed. The jade is a beautiful quality. The colors are fairly consistent. Some are a little darker, some are a little lighter. The hole sizes are beautiful, and they're very big, so they accommodate a whole bunch of cord. So I just grabbed them. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just gonna, the design will evolve from it. So if you did manage to grab one of these beads, you're not going to see again. They're super, super special. So when I was making the piece, Brittany was here, and I had her, I'm going to take the one off of my neck. I actually had her make the base of one. And you guys are commenting about my nails. Well, it's the holiday weekend, and tomorrow night we're taking the crew out for drinks and appetizers, and we're all getting dressed up. So I couldn't have these really sad nails and a fancy dress. So we'll take some photos and post them. But this week I'm fancy. I know usually I have metalsmith nails, as Janice likes to say, but I've got fancy nails today. So that's what I'm going with. So the piece I've got in front of me, I had given some pieces to Brittany, okay? And I said, Britt, just macrame this for me, would you? And it was great. It looked terrific. And then when I went back and looked at the stones that I had actually bought for the kit, they were completely different. So this one with the large beads, these 12mm, are going to be these beads don't exist, but I wanted to show you, or at least don't exist for this kit. There were very few of them, so I couldn't do them this large. But I do want to zoom in here on this, so you can see these are the ones that are in the kit here. These are the 8 and the 10mm here, okay? And these are the 12. We use 12 and 10mm on this other sample. I want to show you how right off the bat you can start interpreting this piece to kind of, I don't know, reflect what you like, right? And so the sample that I ended up doing, you can see here on the towards the bottom of your screen, this has 6 macrame flat knots, or 3 pairs of the knots. So the section in between the beads are a little bit longer. The one that Brittany did for me, and this is the one I'm keeping, I love it so much, there are 2 in between here. And you guys, you have plenty of beads to make this piece as long as you'd like. The finished piece, and let me click back over to the project map that Karen did over here. that necklace is 40 inches long because the way that I wear it, you can wear it long, like over a tunic or something, it would look great. But what I've been doing is I have been wearing it so that it's doubled over. And you can put the centerpiece on both strands or on just a single strand. It just depends on how you want to wear it. Okay, so the length, the 20 inches does not include that centerpiece. And the centerpiece, I'll measure it out for you so you can see it. But here is how I doubled the piece around. Like, get that other strand through, you just wrap it around your neck once and then just slide the other strand through, and you do this while you're wearing it, right? And then you just put it on with the button here, okay? And then you can, the cool thing about this centerpiece is you can take it on and off. So you could wear it just double strand like this, or when you are feeling fancier, you can add the centerpiece here. And the length, the centerpiece length, the way that I made it a little long because I like things to be a little long and dramatic. What a surprise. So this one here is from the very top of that loop to the very last tip of this dangle is about 7.5 inches. So you could make it shorter. You don't have to put any tassels on. You could just leave it as is, like this, right? And just have this piece. So this has so much potential for you to create whatever you want to do. Okay, as I like to say, you guys, of course, you do you. Okay, so let me start by showing you, I put it up in the Beadshop group this morning, and Karen has added it to the project page. I did a little handout for you guys. I don't know, there's a little bit of glare on it, but you guys can see that there. I'll put it down in the center so you guys can see it maybe a little bit better. But you can go ahead and download that, that handout. And it goes over just a few of the finer points of this piece. And of course it lists what materials and stuff that I used. Let me show you, I'm going to go back over to some of the materials I pulled. Sorry, this handout is getting near the speaker, so I didn't want to have that paper right being too noisy over there. So some of the things that I pulled, I'll go back over here so you guys can take a look at it here, okay? Is I pulled some of our kind of tried and true pieces that we have on Beadshop. The strands that I pulled, we have these in 8mm, and these are the dappled serpentine, which is this one here, this kind of yellowy one, and the verdant serpentine, which is kind of this green one here. Okay, and those are in 8mm. We also have these two in the 10mm, the cranberry mix, and then this purple mix right here. And these would mix if you wanted two sizes like I did in the jade, like this. This is an 8 and a 10mm size, okay? You guys are so full of the compliments. Thank you so much. It's going to my head. Thank you. I guess once in a while when I really blow dry my hair and do my nails, I can clean up okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So you could mix these up. You could use this cranberry mix right here with the dappled serpentine and this green and purple. We all know how beautifully those two go together, so those would work. Or you could get two strands of one of the colors. Okay, and then you'll have almost exactly the amount that's in the kit. And then as far as Chinese knotting cord, I used 0.5mm, which is a good middle of the road. Janice is saying you could also add it to a strand of pearls, which you certainly could. And Janice, I know, has had pearls on the brain because come January, her visit on the 3rd, just you wait, kids. Just you wait. It's the pearliest pearl thing ever. And I'm not going to say anything more, but it's gorgeous. So we all have pearls on the brain. But this Chinese knotting cord, what I used was the 0.5 millimeter. So like I was saying, it's a good middle of the road. You could pop up to a 0.8 millimeter because again, the holes on all of these beads are pretty big. So you could do that. You could go down to the 0.4 millimeter, especially if you wanted a finer macrame on your piece. What I would do in that case, if you're adding the 4, I would keep the base at the 0.5, and maybe do a 0.5 underneath and get it in the same color or an alternating color, doesn't really matter, in the 0.4 millimeter to do the knots. So the base is nice and heavy. That's probably what I would do. Brittany's saying that she's obsessed with those purple beads. Britt, I thought of you when I pulled these because I think we pulled these when we did our trunk show. I think it was either these or these cranberry mix. So I did think of you when I grabbed these. I love them. And look at how great it just goes with, I pulled this French, this frosted lilac, which is this one. It also looks really nice with this cement. Shadow, I'm sorry, is what this one is. And look at how with this vintage find, how it really just pulls that color in. So you could use a couple of these guys, a couple of different colors in the piece. And then for the button, I use the pagoda, but you could also use the square peg, which is what I think Janice used in the original Born Yesterday. Or you could use something, you could put an I Ching coin, and I'm going to show you how I do some layering with that. Or I think these are the serpentine drums, I think these guys are. I think it is. Double check that. I may have not put this down correctly, but this guy, the smaller serpentine piece is a nice one. And so you kind of, push the colors over into the gray. And when you order your vintage finds, you can put in the episode, in the notes, in your order notes, do your best to, I want things in green, or I want them kind of gray, or I want them, with some yellow tones or whatever. And we'll do our very, very best to try and accommodate you. Sometimes we don't have them. And sometimes we simply just say, you know what, we're matching you. Whoops, sorry, I didn't put this on quiet. Sorry, that was my phone. Everyone is here that I want to talk to, so sorry about that. But we do our best to try and match them up for you. If we don't have them, we'll just pick one for you, and everybody takes such care to do that. So we promise you'll love what you like. If you don't, you can always exchange it, no big deal. So here is the cranberry. Look at how the cranberry and I'm going to change just one of the Chinese knotting cords there. And look at how beautiful that looks. Same barrel beads, same barrels, same, that's the, let me see what that pendant is. It's the Crouching Dragon pendant. So it goes really nicely with that cranberry mix as well. So it just, just kind of go with it. Go with what you have, right? And this is good eyes, Cindy. This is a king size shadow on my bracelet. This bracelet, you'll remember when Brittany was here and did that epic macrame bracelet episode. Well, when we did the bead retreat back in September, in everybody's goodie bag, they had some little bead mixes. And I bring some of my big drawers full of mixed beads as well for people to kind of pick through and play with. So Brittany, bless her heart, made me this is a bespoke Kate macrame bracelet from Brittany, which I just adore. So I thought since I was being fancy today, it went with my nails. So, and this is a little stacker cuff that I made. So I think it goes nicely. So it shows that you can just stack these with whatever you want to, right? And my nails do look good. Maybe I should get my nails done more often. I don't know. We'll see. Who has the time? But anyway, so that's a little bit of what I've got here. The centerpieces that I have that you can see, I've got, this one is the Crouching Dragon. This one is called Puzzling. This one here. I love this one. And I love that it's kind of just so plain and just sleek and really lets the beauty of the stone shine through. So there's that one. And you can see they come in all types of different colors. Here's another one that has kind of the kind of yellow tones in it. So they're all really gorgeous, this serpentine, but they do vary. This one here, this one's called Seeking. It's also, I think, a great one to add dangles. If you like your tassels kind of across the piece, this would be a great one to use. And again, it comes in a variety of the different types of stones. This one's called Warrior here, this guy here. And then this one, like I said, is called Double Happiness, that one there. And we have some more on the site. I just pulled those because I liked the looks of them. Okay. And so Janice is saying she gave me a gift certificate for my nail appointments. Janice, I did use them. It's just you gave me that gift certificate like 2 years ago. So I did use them, but it ran out. So I'll make some more time or not. I don't know. I was feeling fancy. So who knew that my nails would be front page news? It's funny. So for the closure here, I used this square peg. This is the square peg, and it's the original one. I have the original piece that Janice did here, and you can see how she did the closure. See this here, how it's the macrame loop, and then she started everything. Let me see if I can get it open so I can show you. She started everything here with a knot. You can see that, and then it just goes through the square peg, and then the piece starts to just be macrameed from there. So it's a good closure, okay? And so then what I used in this piece is the pagoda. I used this one. And I used that for the closure. And I like a kind of an elongated piece for closing. I'll show you here. You guys can also see it in the project map. But I think it was perfect for the closure, and I'll show you how I added it. That's where we'll begin when we begin with the demo portion of this. Okay. Then I also grabbed a few of these discs because we can also layer on them. Like for instance, if we were, I don't know, this kind of pyrite piece is cool. You could layer it up at the top there at that hole. You can layer it in the middle of one of these guys here. This piece, the puzzling, I think this one is, an I Ching coin layers perfectly on that, and you can see, and it'll stay just with the tension of the thread, you know, the way you wrap it through and stuff. So, but I'll show you how I do that. I have one set up over here, and we'll do that one too. I want to demo how to do this. Now you could glue this on using your zap glue, but there's no need to really do that if you're going to layer. But you can. Sometimes people like to do that. Janice likes to sometimes glue, and I've glued the centerpieces on and stuff before as well. So it just depends on what you like. And we have a couple of great episodes that you can go back and watch. They're listed. If you go to the Born Yesterday link over on beadshop.com, you can you'll find all of the projects, and you can click through and you can watch those different episodes, because I know Janice and I did one as well. For the final one this is a carved daisy, I think it is. Serpentine daisy is what it is. And it would also make a nice closure. It'll also make a nice large hold focal on this too. So this is, I'm going to put this right in the camera, or maybe I'll put it here in front of me. Let me do that, because then I can zoom in on it and you guys can see what it is that I used. Some of these extras, let me click over to that so you can see it. And let me get my cup out of the way. There we go. But if you go over to beadshop.com and just click on the Vintage Finds collection. It's all there for you. Just go ahead and sort by the different things that you like on that sidebar. But again, what I did here, pagoda bead, the Chinese knotting cord, and you know what? There is a mistake in this. I'm glad I'm proving it right now, right on air. It says one spool, 5mm Chinese knotting cord. It's actually two spools. So I will, I completely missed that when I proved this. So it's two, I'll always exit out with my brain, two spools of the Chinese knotting cord. One strand of the 8mm stone rounds, and the 10mm, it's actually a strand of the 10mm stone rounds there as well. Some focal beads and some Vintage Finds, and that'll do it. Okay, so we'll go ahead and update that on the web. Sometimes when you proof on the fly, you don't always catch it, but you do when it's live, right? Okay, so let me flash that just for a second. Let me get my stuff all together and we will get this show on the road. The list is correct in the handout that I made for you guys. You can see the two spools of 0.5 Chinese knotting cord, two strands, and what I said was large hole serpentine beads, which was basically, you know, these guys here, or of course the jade beads that came in your kit. In your kit also, I said two large hole focal beads. What you get in your kit are these really beautiful carved wood beads, also carved in the vintage style. These, we used to see these carved wood beads from China all the time, way back in the day when Beadshop.com was a brick and mortar store back in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. But in the 80s and 90s, you could find these a lot, and these would be carved out of peach wood. They were just, I don't know, they were thick on the ground. You could find them everywhere. You'd see them in knots. It was one of our signature beads that we would carry, a carved knot bead and stuff like that. But these I just loved, and Janice actually found these for me and said, I am sending you these beads, they'll be perfect for your kit. So I've added these. So this is the focal. I'm going on and on about these, but I love them so much. A pagoda bead or some kind of button or something for the clasp. Then you're going to need some zap glue, you're going to need some hypo cement, you're going to need some thread snips, and a deep dish tray to set everything up. So let me get this in here so you can see this, how I've started to set it up. I'm going to make the shot a little bit wider. You're going to start to see my messy table here. Let me see if I can move this up just slightly so you guys can really see what's going on here. There we go. The deep dish tray, like, you could also use a macrame board. I have a macrame board sitting over here as well. But for this one, I like to set this up, and you can see here how I've set it up with the clampers here and here to do my macrame. Because then it gives me a place to corral everything else in. So that's why I use this. But if you have a macrame board at home, you can use that as well, and use some little dishes and stuff as well to put your pieces in. So this is the amount of the beads that I had left after stringing 40 inches from what came in the kit. So you would have enough totally, if you're doing it this long, to probably do like a bracelet or make this even longer if you want, right? You would just have to get a second closure bead, right? Because it only comes with one of the pagodas, and you'll have to get more of the Chinese knotting cord because you get two of them in that kit. I chose Williamsburg blue, and and you use almost every scrap, at least I did, almost every scrap of it in the necklace, okay? But pick up yourself another spool. Like you could even do this lilac is beautiful. I also pulled this one. I think that's golden toffee. It is golden toffee, and I have that over here that I'm going to play with. This one over here in a little bit. So the way that we begin for this piece is we start by, and I'm going to put this aside because we're not going to use that yet. I start by making, you know what, I'm going to get a fresh tray here actually so I don't screw anything up. I'm just going to do that. There we go. And I had my strands that I cut. There they are. I was like, wait a minute. There's one of them. I had them all pre-made, and in my haste to push things around, there's one. Where's my other one, you guys? Do you see it? It may have just fallen on the floor. I'll cut another one, and I'll glue the ends so you can see them. So I start by doing this portion, okay, the necklace portion. And what I cut is, I'll tell you, let me look so I'm telling you the same thing that I told you on the handout. I'm going to, whoops, wrong page. Use a tape measure to determine the length of your finished necklace, which is what I did. I kind of put the tape measure around me and figured I wanted about 40 inches for this piece. The sample wraps twice around my neck. So, as I said, finished sample length 40 inches to make a 20-inch doubled necklace. For this necklace, I cut one 90-inch piece for the base for stringing and one 1.5 yard piece for the macrame. You're going to have to add for the macrame anyway, okay? So if you cut a shorter piece than 1.5 yards, it's fine. We're going to have to add thread regardless, okay? So don't stress, don't worry about it, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So let's pretend that one of these pieces is 90 inches and doubled over. I'm making it shorter so that it's not so crazy for this. And this thread does not show up, does it, on this board? So let me get, let me just take this off anyway and get my new board here so you guys can see. Because it's hard to see the knots, and that's what you guys are all here for, right? So let me just change this up. It's a great way to, or a great plug for getting multiple of these velvet pads for your design boards. There we go. I think that shows up a little bit better. And let's straighten it out so I don't see that crooked line. There we go. Great. So this will be my 90-inch piece, and I'm doubling it over, okay? Then I'm going to cut, we'll pretend that this is a 1.5 yards. Here's my Williamsburg blue. And for this, I'm just going to reel off very quickly just 3 lengths of the board, okay? But this will be my longer piece. Okay. Then what I did, and you've seen me do this before, and as I said, I did this before the show with 2 pieces here, but it just means that you guys wanted to see it again, right? So I'm going to make some needles on the ends of this cord. I'm going to use my Zap glue. I'm going to put a little bit down. And I'm just going to get my end, lay it in the Zap, fold the baggie over, and pull it through. And it dries or sets so quickly. Try not to get it. This is why I never have my nails done, because I'm always in glue or metal or something. And my manicure is wrecked in a moment. There we go. Okay. So that's set. And it's literally going to set as we speak. And I'm going to get my pagoda bead that is my closure. And again, the pagodas come in all different colors. In the kit, we give you one. When you order them separately, we also carry these at beadshop.com. They come in a strand with a variety of colors. Okay, so you choose one. And then the cool thing, the thing that I love about these beads so much, right, is that this pagoda has a ridge down the center in addition to a very large hole. Okay, so the way that I mounted this bead on my thread, let me make it so, and you can see when you're working with it, you'll have one strand that's short and one strand that's long. The long strand is your strand that you are going to be macrameing with, and the short strand is the strand that you'll be stringing your beads on, and you'll see that in a second. Also, if you want, since these have now set, I'm going to come in and clip these at an angle using my thread snips, so it's not fuzzy. Okay. And Ginger's commenting about the weight of this necklace. It's kind, it's not a light necklace, that's for sure, but it's not too crazy. Especially, you could just make it a single strand. You don't have to make it a double, right? And then you'd have some beads left over to use in something else. You could also, once it's wrapped around twice, it sits up nice and high on your neck so it doesn't drag things down. Oh, Brittany, tell Anna hello. There's Anna. Where's Anna? She's so cute. I strung both of my strands through the hole, and I didn't mean to do that, though you could. But what I also wanted to do was I wanted a little thread up here at the top of the button. So see how one of my threads is, and it doesn't matter which one of my threads is going across the top of this pagoda bead. There we go. Now you can really see it. One is going through the hole like this. And so let me show you. This is confession time. You know how I don't know why I feel like this is the confessional, but I do. So it's just between you and me right here. I was going to tie a knot, and this is what I tell you to do in the instructions. I tell you to bring all of these threads underneath and tie a knot, right? And so here on this one, and I do that because on this one, I didn't tie a knot, and I just started my my macrameing, right? I just came in and started to macrame down. And what it did without that knot, it made this bead super loose, okay? So what I had to do at the end, can you see how there are two strands coming out of this hole right here? I had to bring in another piece of thread, a Chinese knotting cord, and I had to macrame flat knot right underneath the bead and down this first section, which is why, can you see, it looks a little fatter, right? So you could do that if your knot is funny, or if you don't get it quite as tight as you want to right under the button. You can come in, add another piece of thread, macrame over the original macrame, and it tightens everything up. It also makes things a little more sturdy here on this end, so that's fine too. Okay, it's okay, right? So, but what I'll do is I'm going to follow my hand-down instructions that I told you to download. And I'm going to come in, I'm going to take all of my strands together. I'm going to bring everything together like this. And I'm going to tie a nice knot with all of these strands right underneath. Now, if you don't want to tie the knot, again, you could start with the macrame. It was a little funny, like I said, it made it a little loose. So I think this knot is probably a good way to go. See how I'm tightening it down? And then I'm just going to hit one of each of these, like this, and like this, and like this. And then I'm just going to start my macrame underneath. You could also, there are other options. You could silk wrap this, you know. You could use a little, like a crimp bead, like a 3mm crimp bead. I think all of these would slide up into the 3mm. Crimp it underneath, you know, just depending on what you want to do. But this is nice and tight, and it looks good there. Now, let me get my trusty, is it here? Am I going to have to make another one? my little leash for my button. I'll just make another one here. I know I probably have a scrap of cord. I'll make it with this. Let's see, I've got a scrap of cord here somewhere. My little leash to ratchet this down. Usually it's sitting right here next to me, but it's probably on one of the boards that I was using. So I'll use just a little scrap of Chinese knotting cord here. And of course we just make a little loop. And we make the loop large enough so it can grab onto this button. And then I'm going to get my clamper. I think of Emily every time we use these little clamps because they're so handy. I need just a little bit more room there, I think. And you want to make sure that that comes, see right there by the knot next to the bead, because we're going to come in and we're going to start to macrame. Now I'm going to figure out which are my long strands and which are my short strands. The short strands are what I'm going to string my beads onto, but I'm not going to do it quite yet. First I'm just going to macrame down. So here are my center strands. I'm grabbing those and I'm grabbing them to the other side of my board, and I'm just going to clamp those suckers down again. So I have a nice tight taut piece of thread there to macrame around. And then to lift, I have got one of my empty, you can save these empty spools, they come in handy. Or you can put a little KO spool or something underneath there, but that helps to lift everything up off the board so you can move underneath there. Okay. Then, I don't know, I'm going to macrame some. I want to clear this button, and I want kind of a nice space for my loop to sit as well. You can see here's the loop, and it needs a little bit of room there. So let's see what, I don't know, maybe 8 pairs of knots look like. So we have a skill builder on beadshop.com. Now you've seen me do this, those of you who've been watching our live broadcasts for a while. We've been really having a moment lately with Chinese knotting cord and these macrame flat knots. So we've got a skill builder for you to take a look at. But essentially, let me slow this down. When you begin, we're going to start with one side. This is my left side. I make a loop here, right? That's the Q. See how it looks like the letter Q? Can you see that if I isolate that? And then I take the cord that's on my right hand side. I go over the tail of the Q, under that center section, and up through the loop of that Q, and I tighten it. Now I'm going to do the opposite side. This side is the P side. See, again, if I isolate this, it looks like the letter P right here. So I take the strand from the left side, I go over the tail of the P, under the center strands, and up through that center circle, and tighten. And you can see that my threads have, they have that zap glue on them. So they're nice and stiff. So you can really go quickly, I think, with this, doing the macrame portion, especially if you have to, you know, you can just lead that thread through, and since it's stiffer. So let's see, how many do I have? And they're doubled, right? Each little knot leaves a little scallop. So if I count the scallops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, there's 9. So I'm going to do a 10th one. So that's 5 pairs. Okay. So if I go away from this and I come back in and I go, oh, you know what? I need to tie one more knot. Just a reminder to find your place in this. All you need to do is look at where there's a little scallop left. Okay, pardon me, here's the scallop on this side. This side does not have the scallop. This is the thread coming out of the loop. It's the scallop side that I make the loop for the next stitch. So since it's here on this side, the loop is a P side. Okay, and you'll know if you tie it wrong, the knot will lean funny and you'll go, oh, wait a minute, that's not right. I do that all the time. I just tie it and then I go, oh, that's wrong. And sure enough, when I redo it, it's on the opposite side, it's right. So I'm going to go underneath there, up through that loop, and just tighten down. Okay, so that's 5. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my beads, and like I said, this is what I had left over from my necklace. I'm going to free up my strands from my board. I'm going to hold them together. I'm going to make sure that they're all have that little side cut in the end, so it'll be easy to clip. And I'm just going to start, and I'll see how big that hole is. Can you see that hole size? It's huge. So you could pop up a CKC size if you wanted. So I'm just going to go back and forth, choosing these kind of at random. And I don't string the whole thing. I mean, you could, but I kind of do it as I go along. I'm going to string like maybe 6, going back and forth between the 8 mil and the 10 mil. Okay. So there we have it. And I'm just going to re-secure this strand on the board. Okay. And then put my little friend back under there. So now I'm ready to, and if this is too close, if you don't have enough room, just slide those beads down there so it's out of your way. So now we're just going to come in and string, and you can see this is where I bring the outer strands around my bead like this, and then I do an equal amount of knots in between. This one that Brittany did has fewer knots, and fewer knots means that you'll use more beads, right? I wanted I don't know, on the second round, I think this looks great. On the second round, to do a little bit of a contrast, I did a set of 3 on each side, or 6 knots total. I think what Brittany did here is she did just a pair of knots, or she might have only done 3. That's actually what it looks like, 2 on one side and 1 on the other. So it's kind of short in between. But you do whatever works for you, whatever look you like. Okay, so let me just go for it. So I'll figure out, and it doesn't really matter because the threads are coming around the bead, which side you start from, but you can look, there's the spiral, not the spiral, the scallop is what I meant to say. So this is the side that you would do your loop on, right? So I'll come with the cord over the thread, and then I bring the tail underneath. It's coming underneath this center section and up through the loop, and then I tighten. Okay, so there's one. So then I'll do the opposite side, this side here, and up. And as you go along, like if this were going to be a bracelet length, maybe I'd do it a little shorter. Okay, maybe I'd only do 4 in between. I like them. Oh, and see, I can tell I did that wrong. Let me show you how this knot, if you were watching, you can see that I did it incorrectly. See how this knot, the little scallop, is like leaning kind of down and kind of, it's kind of sad. I'm leaning down, and this loop end is high, so that's a no. And I can see that when I untie the knot. See how there's the P. This should have been a Q side, not a P side. So I just take it out and I reverse it and I go, okay, this is right with that loop. And I go underneath, up through, and that looks correct. Can you see how that looks right? There's no little leaning sad side there. Okay. So if this is a bracelet, and I guess it is, because just for demo purposes, I'll slide up another one. Okay, but in my sample I did 6 in between, so I would do one more pair. Okay, so let me just continue, and then I'll show you how we add thread. That second knot that you tie sometimes loosens up the first knot, so automatically I come in, I tug, and then I tug. Okay, and it makes everything nice and even. Okay, and then I will just, whoops, that one doesn't go up yet. Lynn has a question about using the square peg as the button. You know what I would do, Lynn, if I were using that one? I would just, let me see what Janice did. I think she just pulled everything together and tied a knot and then started. Though she may have started, and Janice, you can tell me what you did. You may have started on the loop side. I'm sorry, I probably should have watched the video for that. But you could start on the loop side, do everything here, then bring all of your strands back up through this button and knot it off and glue it. I bet that's what you did. Okay. And Janice used a needle for the inner strands, so she doubled it over and put a needle on. Christine is asking, what's the experience on the cords on the outside of the beads? I don't have any trouble with it, Christine, because this is tight on here, so I don't think it catches more than anything else would. So, and this is an older one. Janice did this one here, her original Born Yesterday is done with Ceylon, regular Ceylon. Okay, so, and it still looks great, but moving up to the CKC, or Chinese knotting cord, CKC is what we like to call it, for short, it also works nicely. So, try a bracelet and wear it and see how the wearability is, but it's been pretty good for me. I need one more. Then we'll slide up another bead. And here. And yes, I'm doing this at Kate speed. I am a fast knotter. And again, you can reference the original Born Yesterday handout for all of the stuff that Janice, all of the tips that she used. Mine is going to be just slightly different than Janice's. So you can see, as I start to get a little like I'm running out of thread here, okay, it's time. It's the time that strikes fear into everyone's hearts, but I just want you to just chill, okay? It's no big deal. What I'm going to do, since I've got 4 knots, I'm going to start adding my thread here after I've tied 2, okay? Then I like to have at least, I don't know how long is this tail? Maybe about 5 inches or so, 5 or 6 inches. I'm going to cut my fresh piece. I'm just going to use the rest of it that's on this spool. And I'm going to come in, and it can get a little fussy, but just take it in steps. You got this, okay? I'm going to add a little bit of hypo cement just right there to the center strands, okay? Just a little. I'm going to get up closer so you guys can see it. There we go. With all of this reflective, I'm sorry, it's a little hard to see. Let me turn this over. Might be a little distracting, but it's a little less reflective. Okay. I've got my baggie underneath so I don't get glue on my velvet cord. Then I come in with my new thread. I go behind all of these cords to the center, and since my, sorry, I had to get the glue off. See, that's why, no manicure. I've already got glue on my nails. I take a look at where the little scallop is. It's on this side. So I know that the knot I have to tie is going to be on this side, the Q side. Okay, so I come up, I make my loop. I'm going to go over these threads here, these old knot tying threads. What you can do is I can just come in so they don't move around too much. I can just come in and secure them along with my other ones. Just going to pull that down so it's a little tighter. Can you see that? There we go. Now I'll come in and I'll tie the Q side of this one. Sorry, let me pick this out one more time. Underneath, I lied to you, the P side, because that's the side the scallop is on. There we go. Now I go over and through, just, it's like, you know, just pretend like these are connected, right? But I did the P side because the scallop is on the P side, and I could tell it was wrong as I started to tighten it up. There's that glue on the center section, and that's just going to come in and bite that new knot, okay? And if you need to, don't get too fussy over it. If you feel like you need to push that knot, whoops, up a little bit, you can use your awl to do that. But that's it. Then you're going to tie with your new threads. This is the Q side. Up and under. There we go. And I think I need one more. Okay, and on this last one, if there isn't glue there, I'll take my glue, put just a little bit on those core strands, just a hair. The trick is to get the little needle back into the hypo cement, which is what I'm struggling to do off camera this very second. Emily, why aren't you here so I can hand this glue right off to you? Or Brittany or Janice, why aren't you guys here? Come on, go in there. Because if you don't, you guys know, there we go. If you don't put the lid on the hypo cement, you're going to glue your hand to the table, or at least I will. But that's also given that glue a second to set. So when I come down and tie that knot, it's nice and tight. Now I've got these little ends that I need to contend with. So I'm just going to come in. You can use your thread burner to do this and just singe the threads away. And make sure you're cutting the short ones, you guys. Let me get a little wide so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay. This is the short end. So under a little bit of tension, I'm just going to clip that away. Make sure again that it's the right one and clip that away. Okay. Now slide these beads back up and we're back in business. Okay, so I just come in, push my bead up. The last little scallop was on that Q side, so I'll tighten it up and keep going. And of course I have a little bit of glue that I caught on my Chinese knotting cord, but I'm not going to worry about it. I don't think it's much. And I'm just going to tie my 4 strands like so. Okay. Then I'll bring this guy up and do it again. You can, this is a really, what do I want to say? It's a long project. Well, long isn't the right word. It's a little bit of a time-consuming project, right? And you keep going. You're going back and forth, and you're making these macrame pieces, right? And so, if you tried, what I'm getting to is, if you tried to cut your thread the right length right off the bat, if you're like, no, I really do not want to add thread, your thread is just going to be a mess by the time you end. See, here's where I glued that CKC. So let's see if I can get this to tie a knot. It happens to the best of us. There we go. That's through. I can't see it. Let's see if it'll make that curve. And if this happened in real life and not a demo piece, I would still try it. Yeah, it's okay. It's malleable enough to go through. But I could just stop the thread, add another one, being very careful not to let it swim in the glue like I just did, and then keep going. Let me just add 2 more of these, and then I'll show you how we close this off. And Brittany, of course, has her famous sponge tip with the hypo cement. Take a makeup sponge, soak it with rubbing alcohol, and you can use that to stab your hypo tube cement tip into it while you're using it. Brittany, I obviously need to do that because, especially on camera, but that's a great tip. So I'm also going to move things down. I still need a little, I'm working on the short side of the board so you guys could see this. So I need to just reclip that so I have some space. Sometimes I like lifting from this top side, but I think it'll lift okay from there. Pull everything, make sure, try not to twist your center strands when you're repositioning them onto the board. There we go. That's on the Q side, so let me go to the Q side to tie my knot. There we go. And the P side. I didn't bother to zap glue these ends just because of time. So, but I probably would. And for camera, I really exaggerate how much I glue the ends. I usually only glue them maybe about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch in length. Once you get close, and so you can see it's just, you know, as Emily likes to say, lather, rinse, repeat. There's a lot of knot tying going on. And Ginger, I think it was Ginger who asked earlier, do we ever do this with the spiral? Okay, so yeah, a spiral knot would look terrific with these guys in the middle. If you look at the video that we did with Brittany just a few weeks ago, her Bollywood necklace, she did one of the strands in a spiral and it looked just beautiful. To do the spiral knot, you just keep tying the knot in the same direction. So you just do a series of the Q's or the P's rather than going back and forth between the P and the Q. Okay. So I'm going to add just, my guess is I need just a couple more here. How am I doing on time? Okay, we're good. I want to make sure that I don't run too far over. I'm going to edit that one out. There we go. And let's continue here. And these knots, your side thread, when you're macrameing, really does take up a lot of cord, so I may have to add thread one more time, but that's okay. Let me see how this is going bracelet wise for sizing. Okay, so here we go. Oh, and look, it's just, I'm going to call that just about right. I'm going to put that one more bead on the end and that'll be perfect. So bracelet wise, so just so you know what I used, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 small ones and 2, 4, 5 large ones. I'll give this a measurement so you know what this is. So far, so I've stopped. My wrist is 7.5 inches, or 6.5 inches rather. So I stopped, it's almost exactly like 6.5 door to door. So I want my bracelet to be about 7.5 inches. So you'd stop about an inch shy of what you want your finished piece to be. Okay, so I'm gonna come in, reconnect this back to the board. And this is how I did the other side of the necklace as well, and I'll show you that. Let me just capture this in there. If I had a bigger loop, I could just loop it around, but for some reason I made this tiny little piece here as a leash. There we go. Put that on there. And I want one more bead here. Okay, where's my loop? Here we go. So here's the loop that I've made for the necklace. And the necklace, this length that I have macrameed is about 2 inches in length. Okay, so I'm just going to come around and macrame 2 inches. And you know what I could do, let me show you this trick. I'm going to try not to add thread. So can you see how my center strands are super long here? It's preferable for me to tie those macrame loops with this long thread. So all I have to do is switch these threads up. So I'm going to string this macrame thread. This bead has such a big hole. I'm going to thread it through. Let me tighten it up so you can see. And thread this one through. And I want to make sure, because I want to get a lot of threads through this the second time around. So you'll want to make sure that you're using a bead that has a pretty big, the biggest of the big holes. This still can accommodate, I think, a couple more strands, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm going to bring it through, though see, this wants zap on the end, or a big eye needle. Let me see if I can grab a big eye needle here. Let me grab it. This is a collapsible eye needle, I think, and it's just going to come right through. That'll help me get that through there. Okay, so I slide all of this down, and now I'm just going to switch. Let me get that wide. So see, I can use, these will just switch places. I'll use the short ones, and I'll just attach those to the board. And look at here. I've got these long ones, and I've got plenty of thread to use now. That's a slick little trick, I think, if I do say so myself. It doesn't have to be super tight, tight, tight. I need just a little bit of room. So now I'm going to macrame until the cows come home as fast as I can. Okay, so under, there we go, like so. And this is creating the loop for the closure side. So now, you guys, when you're making this loop, it's going to vary depending. These beads, these pagoda beads, even on the strand, vary from the different sizes. So I'm saying macrame 2 inches here. It might be less or it might be more. Okay. And I know this is a little bit like watching paint dry, but we're getting there. Then I'm going to show you on the second section, the centerpiece section, how you're going to do the same thing here and close it up. The macrame flat knot on these Born Yesterday pieces, oops, that's not quite as even as I want it to be. You get real fast, and it's easier, I think, if you haven't done this before. Working with this Chinese knotting cord is a good place to break into working with the Chinese flat knot and this Born Yesterday. Okay, let me give this a quick measurement. Where's my, so we're almost there. It's at about 1.5 inches. So we're close. So close. You could also, I mean, there's a myriad of ways that you could close this off too. Allie's done this and it's in the lookbook where we do like a small little loop and then you can attach a leather loop that's been silk wrapped or something with it. That would also look really nice, I think, too. So it just depends on how you want to close it. You know, be inventive. You don't have to do exactly the same thing here. We're a little shy of 2 inches, but I want to check this to see how big the loop is going to be. It's close. See, with this pagoda, you can't see because it's almost off camera. So I do need a little bit of extra because you want your loop to be large enough so that it slides nicely over your bead, but not so big that the bead is going to fall out. You know, the clasp that's the bead is what the bead that's the clasp is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean. Okay. See, it's a good thing I use these long tails. I'm getting to be so short. So, and I was just using the end of one of these that I had open. So you really want to make sure that you have a generous length for the closure, because it's my least favorite thing is working with tiny little tails. Okay, so here's my loop and let's check and see. Yep, see how that goes through just perfectly. So now all of these strands, not all of them, just 2 of them have to go back through this center bead. Okay, you could put all of them back through, but I'm going to bring the other tails around. So let me get my center cords. And again, if those had zap, I could probably get them through, but I'm going to use this collapsible eye needle and get it right through. There's one. See if my hands can pull that. They can. There's one. And let me get the other one. You could also use a big eye for this, but this is the Beadsmith needle, which is Such a nice one. The eye's nice and big. And again, I have a little bit of room here, right? Let me get a little tighter so you can see that. There's a little bit of room, so when I start my macrame again, or I have enough room to get this cord through here. I also want to, if I need to, I can push the bead up using my finger to make a little opening right there so I can get the needle through. There we go. What you don't want to do is split these threads. Let's see if we can get this one through too. Yep, there it went. If the beads that you're using in your piece don't have quite enough, you know, if the bead that you're using and you're like, yeah, that hole isn't big enough, just choose another bead that has a bigger hole. It's fine, I think, for your last bead to be a contrast rather than a match. You also want to make sure, and I should have checked this before I put everything through, but that thread was caught up, was trying to be pulled back between these core strands. So you want to make sure that everything is nice and even and nothing is twisted when you pull this through. See that there? There we go. So now I'm going to get my the world's tiniest leash here. I'm going to connect it to the loop and we're going to ratchet this guy down. Okay. Because always we want a macrame under tension so it's nice and tight. So there's that. I'm going to clip it on this side here. There we go. So now with my outside strands, let me flip this over. Here are these strands. I'm just going to come in, bring these around, and macrame. And I think I'm going to macrame over that original macrame plus the core strands that are coming down from the inside of that loop. Again, I'm doing my least favorite thing, working with tiny little pieces of thread. As you can see, it's not as easy as if I would have had ample threads. But see, I'm doing it nice and tight. I just need like 4 little knots. That's all I have to get out of this thread. So I'm going to do it. Let me get some hypo cement here. And I'm going to start I'm just going to put a little dab of glue right underneath those two. There we go. And this is where you just have to, this is, you know, what I always say is I really don't care for closing off the necklace the same day I string it. And this is why. Because it's always so fussy. I need one more. Now I'm going to add just a touch more glue right on the top here. And then I will do my final knots with the world's tiniest thread ends. If you have trouble pulling your thread, like I seem to be having at this very moment, you can kind of use these bent chain nose. Here's the final knot. Use that bent chain nose to help you. There we go. I know. Will she make it? Will it be finished? And the answer is yes, it will. Now, I'm going to add some glue here, a little bit of glue here. I'm going to turn it over there and there. And I'm going to let all this dry. Okay. Now, if I had my thread, and I'll get in tight so you guys can see it. If I had my thread burner here, I would let these dry, and then I could come in and singe these. Or what I'll do is, especially on a piece that's going to be worn, not a demo piece, I'll really let this sit overnight, okay? And I'll let the thread really saturate, let that glue really saturate into the thread. Okay, so I'm just going to set this aside, and then tomorrow what I'll do is I'll come in and I'll clip away the excess, and it'll really stay. But look at what a nice clean closure. Cindy Brooke is mentioning how she did this, and it was such a nice closure. Look at how nice that is. I mean, that is, even if you don't make the necklace, right, and you just do a pretty bracelet like that, isn't it good? Yeah. I know, where's my baggie? Yeah, the thread burners have been back ordered forever, and they promised the end of November. Well, that was a month ago. So we will get them back in. I have so many on back order. So put yourself on the notification list, you guys, so that when we put them back into stock, and they will be back, don't worry. We sell kind of a higher end one because it really is better. It lasts. So we're holding out for our good thread burner to come back in. So put yourself on the notification list, okay? So there's the necklace, or in this case, bracelet. Okay, so once that's finished, and I'm going to slide this one off. I'll put this to the side here. Oh my gosh, this must look like what underneath Julia Child's table looked like when she was doing her cooking show. Just out of camera range. It's a huge mess. Okay, so once the necklace, or in that case bracelet's done, you're going to make the centerpiece. Okay, and here's the centerpiece section. So here's the finished piece. So I'm going to put this aside. And I'm going to bring this this section in. Let me get my pad so you guys can see it, so it doesn't look so sad with this board here. Let me slide that under. There we go. And let me show you what we've got here. So here's the centerpiece, this kind of what they call the axe shape piece. And I loved these. We don't have these in our Vintage Finds collection. I wanted something that was nice and smooth, so it really showed off the beauty of the stone. Okay, so that's why I chose this one. Plus they had enough for all the kits, but I was glad because I really love this stone. So, let me tighten this up so you can see it. The way that I started was I macrameed a loop, and the loop here, that length needs to be big enough so that when it doubles over, it goes over the strands, or it goes over, it fits over the cord of the necklace, the beads. So this is about 2 inches or so. Okay. Then what I do is, and for the centerpiece, what do I tell you to do? And you can see what I did earlier, that little demo portion. I have it in the photos here for you to reference, and that's in the handout that's connected to the project. So what I did here for this one is I cut 3 pieces of Chinese knotting cord, and I just did them at about 30 inches each. Okay. Then I found the center of the cord, like I did here, and I did the macrame flat knot with one of the cords over the other 2 cords. Okay. So I'll do that. I'll make my loop. I've done the macrame. I've made my loop. Then I'm going to fold the macrame section in half, and I'm going to string all of this through a large hole bead like I did here. Find the hole. And again, with the zap, it makes it really fast and easy. You can also use a needle. Let me see if I can get these through at all. There's 3. I know that 4th one wants to come through real bad. These beads are hollow. So let me just get my needle and save us all from despair. Where is my needle? You guys see it? I'll grab another one. There must be one in here somewhere. Reminder, note to self, here it is, note to self, put your needle away so you always find it. But I'll put it right through this little needle, and that'll help me slide everything through. And then I'll do the strands also that I macrameed with. The strands that I've cut here, these aren't 30 inches. I just cut short little strands for the demo purposes. So you know what's going to happen. I'm going to run out of thread. But I'm just going to show you this. You guys will be able to see it and make it. So these guys go through and through the center hole of that bead. Again, you need when I say a bead with a big hole, I mean a bead with a big hole. So then pull everything down, and this big hole bead lets everything sit nicely. Now before you go any further, okay, check to make sure that loop fits over your bead, because if you've made it too small and then you complete the piece, there we go, see, it fits, and it should definitely fit the loop side of the other end of the necklace. So just make sure, just make me happy and check. Okay, and then you're going to split the strands 3 and 3. I'll go 2 long on one side and 1 short, 2 long on the other side and 1 short. And then I simply just sent them through the hole at the top of the centerpiece. I went going one way, and then I sent them going through the other way. Then I want to tighten everything up, and then I'll show you what I did. There we go. And you see how that looks? Let me get a little tighter so you can see it. And I'll put them side by side. Okay, so then what do I tell you to do? I tell you to cut another 24-inch strand. Or no, I'm sorry. Divide the strands with 3 strands on each side. Cut a 24-inch piece of Chinese knotting cord, and choosing a side, make a series of macrame knots the same length as the centerpiece. So I'm just going to macrame down, macrame, 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 okay, until I get it to this length. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, cut a second piece, macrame, 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 until I get to this center hole. Okay, now what I'll do when I reach the center hole is I'll split the threads. Let me get a piece here. I'm going to do it in this yellow so you guys can see it. And I'm just going to do a couple of knots here, just so you can see what I do. Just going to tie this on. I'm not even adhering it to my tray. I'm just going to do a couple of knots just so you can see. We're pretending in the realm of demo time here. We're coming in. We're macrameing until we get to that hole. Now, once you get to the hole, and I'm going to push this down so it meets the hole. Okay, like that. We switch sides. So this is the side that's been completely macrameed. So I send it through the center hole. And this is the side that needs to be macrameed. So I send it through the center hole going the opposite direction. Sorry, I'm off camera. And I put everything through there. Now, this is an important step right here. I want my macrame to sit nicely so it doesn't go all kind of crazy here in the center hole. So watch what I do. On this side where my threads, I should turn it over. This is the piece that has all the macrame on it already, okay, that I've already macrameed. I actually, where I want to put it is, I want to divide these strands in half and send that whole macrame length down the center. Does that make sense? So that when I come in, and macrame continue the macrame, that the strand comes down the center. And I'll show you how that looks in this piece. But you can see I'll come in. This is all connected to my board. And I'll just pick up these strands that need the macrameing as they come through the hole. Okay, and I just continue until this side is completely macrameed here. Okay, so let me show you. See how on this side, and I'm going to get up nice and tight so you can see it now that I've done it. This piece here was the original, the long piece that I macrameed that was the length of my centerpiece. Then I put my threads through, I macrameed down to the hole, I divided the strands, well I went through the hole, divided my strands, then poked that long piece of macrame through those strands, and then continued macrameing down. When I didn't do it that way, what happened was the macrame kind of made this weird kind of cross, so that this was kind of on this side and this was skewed this side, and it looked kind of funny. So I just put it right down the middle, and it seemed to work out okay. Then, you guys, all I did was I brought everything underneath to the bottom of the centerpiece, and I silk wrapped it. We've got a skill builder for the silk wrapping, but essentially I just got a loop of thread. It's a little long. Got my loop of thread, 1/3 of the length to 1/3 of the length to about 2/3 of the length. And we've got a skill builder on this too. But you just take this long length, and I think I silk wrapped maybe up towards the centerpiece, but you could do it either way. I bring it around all of these through, including the loop that I've made with this original thread. And I take that tail, pass it through the loop, tighten it down, and try and figure out which one. I think it's this one, was the loop. And as you tighten it, that loop pulls the tail in underneath the wrapping, so it's nice and tight. Okay. And then you can either, that length can just blend in with these tassel threads, or you can clip it away. I'm going to clip this one away. There's a question earlier in the chat. Marty asked about a thread burner. If you haven't seen one before, you can go on to beadshop.com and look at it. Unfortunately, you can't order it yet. But what it is it's a cauterizing tool that is like a little wire that's connected to a tube that has a battery inside it. And you just hit that little button, heats the tip of the cauterizing tool, and it clips away, or it helps you burn away. It singes and it burns away the tail of the thread, and it also makes your tail, it cauterizes the end or singes the end so that your Chinese knotting cord doesn't unravel or have any little fuzz at the end of it. So it's a nice way to finish your pieces. Also notice, you guys, this is kind of all over the place. It's nice and loose, so you wouldn't have all of this craziness going on here, but this side looks nicer actually. Then what I did was, with the tails, I just went in and paired up the tails like this. Strung my beads on a pair of the tails, tied an overhand knot, and then singed the threads at the end, or cut them away at the end like this. So that's it. You could also, I'm just going to, well, maybe I'll put one on so you can see me do the overhand knot. Here's my 2 threads, and I reserved one of these. I thought that one of the wood beads looked nice at the top and one looked nice at the bottom. So I'll put these through. They have really big holes, which is why I doubled up on this cord to make a nice big thread, or a nice big knot with this thread. Of course, it's next to impossible to put that one on right now, so I'm just going to do this one. But it really is an epic project. My hands are like, nope, I am done with this knot. There we go. And I'll just come through and I just use the double. And before I had tightened everything up, I kind of put all my beads on and arranged them how I wanted it. Because you can see on this one, the tails, it's kind of staggered. It's gotten a little twisted. But the beads are staggered, so they don't all come to end at the same place. Though you could, however you wanted to do those tails, works. You could get other beads from your stash as well to add in there. I'm casting around for my awl that I can't see, but I'll just use the tip of my plier here you can kind of move this knot up a little bit to wherever you wanted it to be, tighten it down. There you go. And clip the end. Okay, and then you'll make all of these together, and then you'll clip everything, and that's all she wrote. Okay, pretty simple. And you can see in the handout when you download it, you can see I really show you that little, how to spread your cords, bring those other cords through, and then finish it off there. Okay. Woo! I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to wear this necklace out into the world. So if you grabbed the kit, you will get all of these great pieces. Oh, I wanted to show you one more thing. Sorry, I had this out here and I never showed it to you. I wanted to show you how you could do that same thing with this puzzling piece, right? How the puzzling, you could come up through here, make that knot, make that loop sit on the top like this, and then weave it through. You could also come in with your piece of macrame around the side, tie a knot, and have your strands come that way, and that way. And I also pulled these aged rustic mosaic Picasso beads because you could kind of do this Bollywood style, right? Like Brittany does, and put some beads along the outside, some small beads along the outside of the large beads. This aged rustic mosaic Picasso would be really pretty for that. It has a little bit of a glare on the bag, but if you go to Beadshop, that's a little bit better. You can kind of see them. They're 4/0s. They're kind of fun. So that would be fun. It doesn't come in your original kit. So with the kit, just as a reminder, what you're going to need is in the kit you get 2 spools of, let me get this a little wider, 2 spools of the Williamsburg blue. You get your 2 strands of your pretty jade, which is just so delish. You get 1, I know I have the bag here they are. You get 1 pagoda bead and the wood beads there. And so you'll have a lot, like I said, you'll have a lot left over for making like the bracelet, or using for other things, or making a tassel that's a little more lush, or whatever you want to do. If you want to get additional items, our clampers are always super helpful. You're going to need some zap glue, some hypo cement, and some thread snips. But this is a great one once you get your kit to add onto it, to kind of dive into your stash and see what works for you. Okay, I'm gonna bring this over here, and there I am. Do I look, I feel like I look so totally haggard, right? And Janice just said we've got 21 kits left. So today is December 18th. It's the Wednesday, December 18th. So if you're watching this live, you can go over and nab one of those. If you're watching this after the show has completed, you're watching this later and not live, pick up on some of those hints from the Vintage Finds, and you can grab those and have some fun with it. So Friday, you guys, will be our last broadcast before the holidays. Friday, December 20th, I have Free Tip Friday, and I am making, let me fix my hair here, I am making a really fun earring project that I think you're going to love. Also, I wanted to mention, I think we have a few of, oh yeah, you do get a pendant. I'm sorry, Donna Chandler. Donna Chandler's like, don't we get a pendant in the kit? Yes, you do. Let me flash that back over there, and then I'll finish wrapping it up. There you go, Donna. I put it in there. You don't get it with all the stuff on it, but you do get a pendant, of course. You can tell how tired I am after doing this one. I forgot the pendant. But you also found yesterday, we've just been releasing kits. I went kind of kit crazy. And I think we may even have a few of these guys left. This was our holiday earring kit that I made. That was really fun. I've been wearing these like crazy. On Friday, I'm going to do another earring for you guys. It'll be great for the holidays, and you'll be able to whip them up over the weekend.
You can grab some Super Duos from our Super Duo collection and make them. I think you're really going to love it. So that's on Friday. A fun, fast Super Duo earring. Then next week, the schedule for next week, just to let you know what's happening, that Friday will be our final broadcast before the Christmas holiday. And so the 25th falls on a Wednesday. So I will be back on Friday the 27th. Nope, I lied to you. I'll be back on Thursday the 26th, the day after or the day after Beadshop Live, with a fun project to close out the year. And then the following week, the week after that, on January 1st, that Wednesday, I won't be doing a broadcast on New Year's Day, but on Friday the 3rd, our Janice will be with me, sitting right here next to me, and we're going to have the project is amazing. It's over in Karen's photo booth as we speak, and it's gorgeous. So I think you guys will have a lot of fun. So that's it. Have a great day, a great rest of your Wednesday. I want to see those kits made, you guys. I want to see them posted over on our Beadshop group, over our bead table on Facebook at beadshop.com, the bead table group over on Facebook. Or if you don't do Facebook, send us the photos. I love it when you email me what you've been making and stuff, or just emailing me in general. It's fun to hear from you guys. So you can reach us, of course, at info@beadshop.com, or you can reach me directly, kate@beadshop.com. Well, thank you so much. It's a great final Facebook Live or Beadshop Live broadcast before the holidays, but I will see you on Friday for our final Free Tip Friday broadcast before the Christmas holiday. Thanks so much to all of you. We are always super, super grateful for you guys out in Beadshop land. And of course, for more information, go to beadshop.com for everything we do, the project and products from this broadcast. And lastly, sign up for our newsletter and you'll be in the know for all of these great discounts, giveaways, and new products that we shoot out at you at beadshop.com. Thanks so much, my darlings, and I'll see you on Friday. Thanks for watching.